Good morning. How y'all doing? So the three topics for today are going to be English voting laws, selfish winners, and quantum. So oh wow, man, right. Okay, so I'm not going to change that. So English voting laws. Let's go. Basically, Labour in England is announcing voting laws changes. The two biggest changes are basically lowering the voting age to 16 and then removing essentially a voting ID, a photo ID requirement for voting. This is happening at a time where basically, if you're not familiar with English politics, Conservatives got wiped out last time. Labour took control. Labour's going to get wiped out next time because it turns out that people don't want to have uh, population replacement happening in their country. They don't fully want that. But that's actually not really being fair. That's the net thing people are mad about. But things getting more and more expensive. The rich people are moving out. It just doesn't seem there's enough money in the country. That's basically what's happening. And everything's getting more and more expensive for normal people who already live there because you have so many people moving in. The services can't keep up. A lot of the people coming in don't want to assimilate. And it's a whole disaster. Point being, though, that's not really the point of this video. The point is that they are changing the voting laws. So it's ridiculous on the face of it because, first of all, if you're 16, you haven't actually seen the real world. You haven't had an opportunity to see the real world. You're in school, which means your opinions come from the education system, in theory. Counter argument is that the younger generation in America, it's actually gone so much to the right, but I think it's to the right compared to the previous generation. So I think there's still a buffering indoctrination effect. It's that wears off with time. People become more right wing as they get older and they get more experience in the actual real world, or they become dumber. I don't know, whatever you want to say. Um, the second thing they did is they got rid of the voter ID essentially photo requirement. Basically now with the new voting laws, you can vote with a bank card. Bank cards don't have photos, apparently. So basically, it makes it a lot easier for people to vote without a photo. Interesting that the thing that the government in England is doing, facing almost certain electoral annihilation, the change they're implementing is going to make it more difficult to verify that the election was done fairly. Interesting. Um, it's almost as if they think they're not going to win and they're going to try to cheat. That's what it looks like to me. I can say that about it though. So they're making changes to make it easier to cheat. Um, it's funny that in America, that every single state that did not have photo ID um, voted for Democrats. Every state that did have photo ID voted for Republicans. It's almost as if that people use the election rolls to shift things in their favor. Almost. I'm not making any allegations about anything. I'm just saying that it seems to have an effect, and there seems to be like maybe labor is just completely doing it for the good of the people, changing election rules when they're way behind. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. Of course, they're not going to affect the first past the post system. They're not going to do representation. That would be crazy, right? They're not going to do anything that would actually help the other side get more seats. No, they're not going to do that. And it's not like they're the same type of people who are doing the same kind of nonsense in every country they're in. No, it's not like anything crazy that happened, like the French front runner being thrown in prison, or even or even like elections in Romania being canceled entirely, or having to be redone. It's not like anything like that happened. No, no. It's not like the opposition party in Germany is being declared extremists. No, that would never happen. Is that why people are being arrested for free speech and for exercising their free speech in England? No, no, it's oh wait, all that stuff is happening. Yeah, maybe left wingers are bastards. Maybe that's the entire situation right now. And that they use every method available to cheat. It does look like that, though. I don't know. Maybe not. Alright, so I'm gonna have to the left wing for a bit. Let's go after the right wing for a bit. Selfish bastards. Um, this is true throughout the entire economy, entire society. You do have winners. You have the top, just very successful people. You have this in economic means where you have people who are CEOs and such, like this astronomer CEO who I haven't really heard anything bad about him being actually being a bad CEO to people. I know some people who work there. I haven't heard anything that bad. But then he cheats on his wife with a far less attractive woman. And I think everybody's it's amazing how everybody is like unified in saying that, really, dude, she's got ugly compared to your current actual wife. Why are you doing this? That's really, really funny. Actually, everybody's kind of like, I would feel really bad if I was HR. Like she's a cheater, so okay, fair enough. But everybody's like, oh, yeah, you're not that great. But you see this in sports where you have the top athletes or whatever. I've seen it in dating, whereas well, a very small minority of men do exceptionally well in dating. And the question I got is that okay, yeah, I understand. I believe in competition and doing better than the next guy, and I believe in like success, and I'm okay with a few top people being successful in their chosen fields. That's how life works. The question is when are they just getting when are they not fulfilling their obligation, the noble oblige, the obligation of the nobility? When are they not they're not fulfilling their obligation of being a higher class? Like, I'm not sure where this comes from. I'll have to probably look that up. But it probably comes from the Middle Ages where you have people who are knights actually fought their own wars. Okay, great. Or you had the idea of the 1920s, 1910s type people who, yeah, like Carnegie. Yes, they got obscenely wealthy, but then they kind of gave back some with libraries, schools, infrastructure, yada yada yada. We don't seem to have that right now. Now, I think we do have some people who believe in it to some extent or another. Like, say what you want about Elon Musk, positive or negative. He is doing things that he thinks is necessary for the future flourishing of America, of the world. You may think he's wrong. You may think he's a Nazi. You may think a bunch of things about him. That's fine. But he's obviously doing things not just out of like simple self greed. That's obviously not his motivation there. Then you get these people who are super successful, and they just, it's one thing to take from the system to win more. It's another thing just to take things you don't even want. Like billionaires, like people who are really rich, Elon Musk included. You just keep taking more and more and more and more money, and then it's destroying the system as a whole. Like, yes, people can like have families if they're very, very careful about it, but it's tricky, right? You gotta like save up and do all these things. And the system as a whole is dependent on the fact that we have some kind of like ability to produce a next generation as and have families. And that's just not the case um for a lot of people. Now there's oddballs like me who make a ton of money, but like don't have the wherewithal to have to have a family. But there's plenty of people who just want to have a family who just can't because they can't afford it. Um, and the person has $1 billion. It's like, what are you spending it on? You're spending on a yachts and like, what are you doing? And then you have people who like, okay, the CEO guy, he's like successful, family and everything. And then he's like, oh, I'm gonna have an affair with my secretary. With well, okay, let's be honest, HR is the secretary division. So I'm gonna. It's he's having an affair with the secretary. That's all it is. And it's like, what are you gaining? You're just destroying things with no respect for the things themselves. Or like a Chad who's like dating a bunch of people. It's like you obviously don't value these women. You obviously don't. You know that there's a negative effect. You know, like if you're successful, you're probably somewhat red pilled. you know that there's a negative downstream effect. Like if you're dating 50 women, you're basically screwing over 50 men. I mean, and you're doing it why? Because you want to get your rocks off? I don't know, man. It seems kind of selfish, and you kind of need that attitude. I mean, that is true to be successful in that realm. But it's like, do you have to be so callous about it? That's the word. That's the word. Callousness. It's callous success. It's success without the gentleness of grace, of honor. Success without honor. That's what it is. And the issue is, I mean, that's always been the case, and that's fair. But it's just so extreme now where it's actually starting to destroy the society as a whole. Where the system as a whole is starting to be destroyed by the top people taking too much advantage of the system without any honor. Do not fight with honor. Well, we kind of need some honor, or else everything falls apart. I don't know, bit of a ramble there. That topic, quantum. I think quantum's gonna be the next big spot to buy in tech. I'm not saying AI is over. It's probably not. But I don't know about you, but do you think do you feel you see like more and more actual tech people being skeptical of the whole AI craze? I do. I see more and more people saying it's going to be an effective tool, but that it's not actually going to replace all the programmers. Because it turns out that most of the programming has always been, most of the time spent, is not writing a 10-line function. That's not what takes up people's time. What takes up people's time is some kind of weird discrepancy between two libraries or something that AI cannot figure out. Because it hasn't happened in anyplace else, because your software system is unique. AI is still going to be a growth area, and I don't think the video underneath the video is going to crash. But I do think people are going to be starting to look for a different place to invest. And it's also kind of like, what are you going to invest in? Google, NVIDIA? There's like 3 or 4 AIs out there that are actually going to be prominent. And we already know what those are, and the price is already built into their stock prices. So you're not going to win more money by putting another $1,000 into Google or whatever. Quantum, though, I think people get bored. I think people are looking for the next thing. And there's a few quantum stocks that I'm investing in: IonQ, QUBT. There's probably some more I want to invest in if I want to be diversified in the area that I think are only going to shoot upwards, and they're already shooting upwards, but I think they have a long way to go. So the issue is that people don't really understand. If people are like, oh, quantum has a limited reach of how much effect it can have. True. But there are areas where it does have an effect. Now, from a computation standpoint, there are problems that quantum can solve that other things can't. Second, from a cybersecurity standpoint, which if anybody you're in tech knows, is like half the industry. Quantum, it can destroy the entire cybersecurity space. Disrupted or one anyway. How? Well, basically, everybody uses SSH keys, public keys, private keys, yada yada yada. Those can be broken very quickly by quantum algorithms to run by quantum computers. So there's a few options that might happen. One, these quantum companies that develop quantum computing can test out avenues to fix them. So let's say you want to have a way to test your system against quantum algorithms. You need a quantum computer. Let's say what could happen is you have these companies get bought by Google, Microsoft, Amazon because they want the technology, in which case stock shoots upwards. I'm not saying it's going to take over the world. It's not like the kind of like paradigm shift that AI promised to be. Oh, everything's going to be different from now on. It's not going to be that. But just because something's not a paradigm shift doesn't mean it's not an area for growth. And there's a lot of money to be made. Or careers to be made. I'm investing in quantum, so I'd recommend you do the same. That's my stock pick for this month, I guess. Or maybe AI comes going back and it'll be kids about quantum. That's a possibility too. But we'll see. All right, cheers.